Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. A few months back I did a video on a comic book called Final Destination Spring Break. It was the first horror comic that I had ever covered on the channel, and a lot of people really liked it. And I said that while my channel wouldn't become horror focused, I would cover more horror comics in the future. And so that's what we're going to be doing now. We're going to be covering all of the Friday the 13th comics, except for the one that's just based on the movie, the Jason Goes to Hell one. We're going to be reading them all in release order, starting with the Avatar comics, published ones. Since they got the license first, they published a bunch of Friday the 13th comics. We're going to be checking them out, and we are starting with what I refer to as the Bloodbath Trilogy. It doesn't have that name definitively, but these three comics are some of the earliest comics released by Avatar, and they are all connected, and most of them are written by the same writer or have the same people involved. The first two books, the Friday the 13th special and the Bloodbath miniseries, are both written by Brian Pulido with art by Mike Wolfer, while the third book, Fearbook, doesn't involve Brian, but is written by Mike Wolfer with art by Sebastian Fiumara. The Friday the 13th special, which was released April 2005, takes place after the events of Freddy vs. Jason, the film that came out in 2003. So without further ado, let's dive into it. The story begins on Friday, May 13th, just outside of Crystal Lake, as a couple, Mike and Pam, are getting busy in the back of his van, as the traditional couple does in a Friday the 13th film or book. Pam hears a noise, and Mike tells her that he didn't hear anything. So, hear what, Pam? I'm getting my groove on, babe. I don't hear a thing. I only see you. Groove on? You're so 80s. Stop talking. And you know what? And then they start making out. You see a shot of a boot nearby, and you think that it's Jason Voorhees. But it's not. It's a couple of soldiers whose names are Joe and Al. They're talking to each other because they're apparently hunting down they call it a mental institute patient. I think they're referring to Jason Voorhees. Maybe they don't know he's a zombie. Jason sneaks up behind Joe and slices him in half with his machete, which obviously freaks Al out. Joe, Jesus Christ, Joe! Base camp coming over! Target acquired! Lockout location! Recon 3 is down. Repeat, down. Weather. And he starts shooting all throughout the forest. And that's when he realizes, too late, that Jason is right there. And Jason just punches his head off. Clean off. His head bounces through the woods comically before landing on the ground. So they send in reinforcements to deal with Jason. Reinforcements coming. Do you read? Over. Have you sighted target Jason Voorhees? Over. Jason just kind of stands there like, yeah, I punched that guy's head off, so what? Jason then crushes Al's head with his boot in order to break the communications with the other reinforcements, showing that Jason is smarter than you would think. Pam mentions again that she's hearing noises, and Mike's just like, all I hear is thunder and lightning, so let's just get it on. And so she pulls her shirt off, and they start making out again off panel. I think the thunder and lightning is an attempt to explain why these two characters don't hear the gunfire that is going on right outside their van. In a flashback set 2 months earlier, we are introduced to Laura and Miles. They are siblings, and they have inherited the land that Crystal Lake is on. And their father was the owner of what is now known as Camp Blood. After the incidents with Jason Voorhees, their father passed away, and Laura is swearing revenge against Jason and wants to get rid of him once and for all because he's ruined the lives of their family by ruining the thing that they built from the ground up. Their father's legacy. A soldier named Ken and an unnamed soldier find Joe and Al's bodies. One of the soldiers says that he's heard that Voorhees has supernatural powers and that he can't be stopped. And the other soldier's like, "Oh shit, if you're alright with the man upstairs, you got nothing to worry about, boy. Praise be. It's your whole generation. You kids got no." But before he can finish his sentence, Jason punches his hand through the guy's chest, pulling his heart out. The guy manages to finish his sentence. Heart. And then he falls to the ground dead. Ken pulls out a grenade and throws it at Jason, blowing him up, which Pam hears and is like, "Come on, you heard that right. Thunder, I have your favorite whipped cream. Shall we? You're a very bad boy, Mike." Just this weird scene going on while all these guys are just being mutilated. Like, this feels like a Friday the 13th movie. Ken is in communications with a helicopter nearby. He thinks that he's neutralized Jason, but then he sees Jason emerge from the smoke and fire, and this is when it's revealed that Jason has a healing factor. Something that I don't think was ever actually established in the films. He would often come back from supposed death, but it was never explained that he had a healing factor. In fact, every time he came back, he would still maintain the damage that he had received previously. Maybe this was to explain the amount of damage that he had received in Freddy vs. Jason when he got his fingers cut off, stuff like that. In fact, now that I think about it, you look at his hand in this panel, and there's little incisions on his fingers. I think that's supposed to be where his fingers have been stuck back together after they were sliced up by Freddy. If that's so, then that's some really good attention to detail of lining the two of these up. Jason's wounds heal and he rushes straight at Ken, grabbing his gun and smashing it through him. He just rips the gun through Ken, ripping him in half. We get another flashback of Laura meeting Blake, who is the one that has all of the army men that were hired to kill Jason. Turns out Laura hired them to kill Jason. Miles finds out, and he's not on board with this, but Laura is too fueled with rage to listen to him. They talk about Jason's origins, which at this point, you should all know what his origin is. He was a kid at Crystal Lake, the camp that was there, and he drowned while some counselors were having sex, and his mum wanted revenge against them, and then she ended up being murdered by one of the counselors, and so Jason wanted revenge for her, and that's what started his entire murderous spree throughout the years. They also question why he's supernatural. They think maybe it's because of his hate, the pain, something in him, or is it the place? Like, who knows? Even though they do establish in the movies that the reason he's supernatural is because movie logic, he got struck by lightning and was reanimated as a zombie. Simple as that. A no-named soldier and a soldier named Dave show up and start riddling Jason with bullets, but it doesn't do anything. Jason just walks up to Dave and smashes his fist down on Dave's head, which causes Dave's head to fall out his ass. It's so funny. It's like, boop. You know, that's one way for Dave to get his head out of his own ass. The other soldier backs away from Jason in fear, calling Blake for help. He falls onto a seesaw. Jason hits the other end of the seesaw, sending the soldier flying into the air. Pam hears another noise. Mike's like, "What? Oh, you mean him?" Points out to the front of the car and there's a squirrel sitting on their bonnet. He's cute, just like you, Mikey. Yeah, he is, isn't he? And the squirrel leaves the front of the boot. They start making out again. They call each other Huggy Wuggy Bear. And Mike says, "I love you, honey bunny." And as he says that, the soldier's body falls on top of their bonnet, which causes Mike and Pam to understandably run out of their van, even though their reactions are still a little bit odd. Pam's just like, "Ah! That guy's screwed." And Mike takes this as an opportunity to complain. It's like, at least somebody is. Turns out the people flying the helicopter are Blake and Laura. They get a lock on to Jason and they start shooting at him. Jason kind of runs away from the gunfire. He picks up a rocking duck. Is that what you call it? It's one of the rides at the kids' park. And he throws it at the helicopter. It smashes through the window, obliterating Blake's head, causing the helicopter to spin out of control and crash into a nearby tree, where Laura's just like, "No, it can't end this way. I'm not done. No!" She crawls out of the wreckage of the helicopter and lands into the water below, and then emerges from the water and is like, "Oh, Jason, you've ruined my plans. The resort was a new beginning for my family. It was our way to end the curse of Camp Blood. Don't you turn your back on me, Jason." She pulls a grenade out, pulls the pin out, throws it at him. "This land is ours, not yours. I wonder why I hate you so much, why I sent these men to kill you. I'll tell you why. All my father ever wanted was to help kids. It was his dream. What did it get him? Nothing but heartache. Because of you. He died of a broken heart. You murdered him. That's why I hate you. You're afraid of the lake. I'm safe here." And Jason attempts to throw his machete at Laura, seemingly missing her. He hits the tree directly below the helicopter that is above her, but Jason's smart. He was actually throwing the machete at the tree so that it would break the branch, causing the helicopter to fall from the tree towards Laura. "You can't get me!" And the helicopter blades just go straight through Laura, slicing her to pieces. She then drops the grenades, because she's dead, and as Jason grabs his machete and walks away, the explosions from the grenade go off behind him, so it's like one of these action movie moments for him where he's walking away from the explosion. We cut to Mike and Pam walking along the road. This time, Mike is the one that hears noise, and Pam is the one saying that he's not hearing anything, and then Mike grabs Pam's ass and is like, "How about we start off where we left off? Is that all you can think about? We just saw a man fly out of the sky and land on the hood of your truck. This place is as whacked as everybody says. For just a minute? Okay. I love you, Huggy Wuggy Bear. I love you, honey bunny." And as he finishes his sentence, Jason slices through the tops of their heads with his machete. What makes him supernatural? The hate? The pain? Is it something in him, or is it the place? One thing I do know, as long as Jason Voorhees haunts Camp Crystal Lake, we have no future. The end. For now. And that's the end of the Friday the 13th special. And now we move on to Friday the 13th Bloodbath. It begins near Crystal Lake where we see a deer, something approaching it, and then we find out that it's Jason and he's approaching a dead deer. So the shot that we saw of the deer alive was before Jason arrived. Turns out a couple of people driving a truck killed 2 deer, left one behind, which is the one Jason found, and then took the other one away as their prey. And Jason doesn't really stand for the killing of innocent animals, especially those on his property. So he tracks these 2 people down. Diane and Randy are their names. While driving in their truck, they smash straight into Jason. They try to back away from him, but Jason comes crashing through the window, and so they quickly climb out the back window into the trailer on the back where the dead deer is, and Diane pulls out her rifle, and then we see a first-person shot of Jason through his mask looking at the dead deer, then looking at Diane and Randy as Diane shoots at Jason. Jason comes at them, they scream for their lives, and then we see that he has gutted them and hung them from a tree. 6 months later, a group of teenagers have been hired by a man named Kevin Carney. He is the project manager of a reconstruction of Camp Tomorrow, which is a camp not that far from Camp Crystal Lake. The place is a shithole, and their idea is to bring it back to life. The characters from left to right on this page are Jenna, Dion, Lizzie, Ellie, Ben, Kevin, Violet, Rich, Kim, Jerry, and Amber. The teenagers all hang out with each other where they reveal who they want to pair up with and sleep with. Ellie reveals that she wants to be with Jenna, so we got some gay characters in here, which is pretty cool. That ends up being their entire personality in this, is the fact that they're both gay, which isn't great, but it's better than no representation at all. They're not written as stereotypical gay people, they're just written as two gay people who are really horny for each other. That night, they have a campfire, and Dion tells them the story of Jason Voorhees, because you always gotta have the curse of Jason Voorhees spoken around a campfire. We start to see the pairs play out. Jenna and Ellie are pairing up. Dion and Kim are pairing up. Violet and Rich are pairing up. Jerry and Amber. Ben and Lizzie. Kevin shows up and accidentally makes them jump because they think he's Jason. And he introduces them to a guy named Johnny, who is apparently the handyman. And he refers to Johnny as, you know, slow. And I'm like, what does that mean? Are you saying that Johnny's disabled or something? You're doing it in a very rude way. It's a very rude way to introduce somebody. In fact, Kevin shows up just to introduce Johnny, and then he leaves immediately. And after that, they all play the horniest game of Truth or Dare that I've ever seen. Jenna, truth or dare? Truth. Are you gay? I'm bi. You? You didn't ask truth or dare, but I'm totally queer. I knew it. Dare. How long are you? Long enough. Cut to the chase, ladies. Watch this, Jerry. Truth or dare? Dare. Show us your junk. He pulls down his pants. It's like, what? What is going on? Truth. What are your parents' names? Oh, come on. I don't have a mother or father. Me either. Same here. Yeah, me too. You guys? Foster rents, yeah. Call me Little Orphan Amber. Me too. Solo. So through this weird game of Truth or Dare, it's revealed that the one thing they all have in common is that they're all orphans, which is a little bit weird. It's a bit of a weird coincidence. Throughout the book, they also start to realize that they've been paired up with people that they are very similar to. Ellie and Jenna are both gay, so they were paired up together, which isn't weird because they're gay. I guess Jenna is bi, so the fact that she was paired up with a woman, even though she likes both, is supposed to be considered weird, even though it's not. Violet and Rich are the goth characters. They're paired up with each other. Jerry and Amber are the stereotypical hot characters, and they're paired up together. Now, Lizzie and Ben, their connection is a little bit more interesting. It's less superficial. It's not about how they look or what they wear. It's about their backgrounds, their family backgrounds. So they go out to the lake to swim together, and then have sex after, because that's what you do. And while they're swimming, they're getting to know each other, and they find out that both of their foster parents have military backgrounds, so they are both military kids. Attention soldier, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to secure the pretty brunette heading for the water. Understood and accepted, Commander. Honestly, it's probably the funnest relationship that any character has with each other in this book so far. It's sad that they are the first characters to die in this book, as the moment they start having sex, Jason just walks over them, and his leg just goes straight through Ben's back and through Lizzie's stomach. I like this idea that Jason may not have even realized they were there and was just walking over them, and it just shows how little he cares. Obviously, he killed them on purpose, he did it knowingly, but it would be funnier if it was accidental, because he was just that focused on what he was doing, he didn't even realize that he stood on two people and killed them. Kevin and Johnny are acting weird, watching the couples as they all pair off, stalking them. Amber and Jerry get together in the woods, and Jason hacks through them with his machete, just comes out of nowhere. Cuts off a branch from a nearby tree, it falls to the ground. Kevin and Johnny hear it, and they're like, yeah, you hear that? Let's go check it out. Violet and Rich heard it too, and so the remaining couples all come out and reunite with each other, where they're like, hey, where's everybody else? And Dion's like, hey, I'm not their parents. I don't really care what they're up to. Violet starts to point out the coincidences between them. The fact that they're all orphans, the fact that they've all been paired with people that they are very compatible with, or have a lot in common with. The others just think that she's being too superstitious and going crazy. Kevin and Johnny find Jerry and Amber's bodies while the pairs go off again and start flirting with each other. Dion and Kim start giving each other massages. Ellie's trying to get with Jenna, and Jenna's not really sure on it. She's like, I don't really know how I feel about this. She's not fully into it. Rich and Violet go looking for Lizzie and Ben, where they find Jason's shack in the middle of the woods. His abandoned shack. They think that Lizzie and Ben are in there, so Rich starts calling out for them. They enter the shack, and that's when Jason's machete comes flying into the door, and so Rich is like, oh, run! And Violet's like, oh my god! Johnny and Kevin hear this, and Kevin suspiciously says that it's music to his ears, which means he's expecting this. Kevin then calls into a mysterious woman known as Mrs. Roosevelt, and she refers to Kevin as Mr. McClintock, so he's not even using his real identity. They talk about how some kind of operation is proceeding as planned, and she says that it's perfect and that he knows what to do next. And we are left with Jason attacking Violet and Rich as they run for their lives. Violet and Rich run from Jason. Jason grabs Violet by the hair and picks her up into the air. In an attempt to save her, Rich grabs his knife and stabs it into Jason's crotch, which causes him to drop Violet. He swings at Violet and his machete goes into a nearby tree as she ducks. She then uses a fork that she's got to stab Jason in the eye. Jason pulls the fork out of his eye and he pulls the knife out of his crotch. He's not going to have kids anytime soon. And he throws the knife at Violet, barely missing her and hitting a tree right behind her. Rich and Violet find a hole in a cliff nearby and climb into it, and it keeps them safe from Jason. He can't reach them. He tries reaching through the hole and he can't get them because the hole's too small. So eventually he leaves. Rich and Violet then leave the hole and start running through the woods, and it turns out that Johnny has been tailing them. He's still in contact with Kevin, and they're talking about the fact that they're trying to get Target Zero, which is Jason, to something that they call 0 point. So they're trying to get him to some kind of location to spring some kind of trap. Violet and Rich run back to camp where they run into Dion and Kim, and they say that like a serial killer has been chasing them, somebody wearing a hockey mask. Kevin shows up and tells them not to worry. They want to leave the camp, but Kevin says, no, you're not leaving the camp. You all have to stay here. You're gonna be safe. It's really weird. They kind of believe him. Violet doesn't. And the rest don't want to stay in the camp, but they believe that Kevin is on their side when he clearly isn't. He's clearly trying to keep them there for nefarious reasons. Kim has an identity crisis when she asks where Ellie and Kim are. It's like, your name is Kim, why are you asking where you are? I think she meant Jenna. Even the writer is getting the names of his characters mixed up. Turns out Ellie and Jenna are playing some kind of game. It's like sexy spy, good sexy spy, evil sexy spy. I don't know, they don't really explain the rules. That's just the way they're talking. It seems to be some kind of weird game where one of them's evil and one of them's good. You can't run, you can't hide. I have all the exits covered. Admit it, good girl, you're mine. After all these years, you finally got me dead to rights, Miss Evil. Now that you have me, what will you have me do? Take off your top. Now kiss me. And so Jenna takes her top off, they start making out. Johnny sees them, and instead of calling Kevin to let him know where they are, he instead decides to watch them like a creep, and that never ends well for people in Friday the 13th. Whenever you're a creep, you die immediately, because Jason comes up behind him, puts the machete in between his legs, and slices him straight through his crotch, while covering his mouth so that he can't scream. Jenna and Ellie start to smell something horrible. Yuck, did you fart? Something smells terrible. Jason appears before them, grabs their heads, "Mom, I'm sorry," and then smashes their heads together off panel. I don't know why Ellie apologized to her mom. I think this is supposed to be some kind of thing where, like, maybe her mom looked down on the fact that she was gay, and this is her apologizing, being like, "I'm sorry, Mom, I'm sorry I was gay." It's a little weird. You know, it'd be kind of funny, though, if Jason didn't mean to kill them, and he's just supportive of gay relationships, and so he was trying to just help them kiss each other, and he pushed a little bit too hard, and they accidentally killed them, and so he's just like, "Oh shit, I wasn't supposed to do it that hard. Damn it. Now I'm gonna look like a bigot." Things aren't going good for Kevin. He's lost communications with Johnny, and things are rocky with Mrs. Roosevelt. She believes the plan is going awry, that it's falling apart, and that he's not gonna succeed, and Kevin keeps telling her that it will succeed. They're gonna get him to 0 point, he promises. Violet, Rich, Dion, and Kim decide that they're finally gonna try and leave despite what Kevin said. They find a nearby car where Violet reveals that her last foster dad stole cars on the side, so he taught her how to hotwire one. She tries to hotwire the car, but it won't work. They open up the bonnet to find that the spark plugs are missing, so somebody's taken them, which is really suspicious. That's when Kevin shows up with his shotgun and is like, "Hey guys, it's okay, I'm here, I got my gun." And Violet's like, "Where are the spark plugs? What's going on? Like, clearly you're hiding something from us because this doesn't make any sense. Why can't we get away in that car? It's like you tampered with it on purpose." Kevin doesn't tell her anything. Instead, he just demands that they come with him or he will shoot them. And they run from him anyway, and he starts shooting at them as they're running through the woods. Kevin's just gone full psychopath at this point. Kevin throws a rock to lure Dion and Kim to point 0, where Jason is supposed to be, while Violet and Rich run into the dead bodies of Ellie and Jenna. Dion and Kim think they're in the clear, but that's when Jason shows up and hacks them to pieces off panel. Kevin shows up after the carnage and is like, "Oh, Jesus, target in position, target at 0 point. Now." That's when a bunch of military guys pop up from out of the ground and start blasting Jason from all directions. One of the guys gets a little bit too close to Jason and gets stabbed through the face. So Kevin calls his men to activate phase 2. One of the guys gets slashed and killed by Jason while the others start firing hoses at him. Hoses filled with liquid nitrogen. He also tells them that 2 of the teenagers have gotten away, and so that some of his men has to go after them. So some of the men start chasing after Rich and Violet as they run away, while Jason has been secured by Kevin. He's been frozen by the liquid nitrogen. Having succeeded in capturing Jason and freezing him, Kevin plans on taking him away in a helicopter to take him to Roosevelt. They plan on experimenting on Jason to figure out how his healing factor works and all that kind of stuff. Maybe to create weapons for the government, we don't really know. It's just really seedy shit. Rich and Violet are pursued by the military, where Rich gets shot in the arm by one of them. So Violet has to grab him and help him get to safety. The military loses sight of them in a nearby river, so they head back to where Kevin is and the other military men. Start wrapping Jason in chains, attaching him to the helicopter. Rich and Violet arrive and they see the body parts of their former friends being eviscerated or incinerated. They watch from a distance as Kevin gets into contact with Roosevelt and the other leaders of this mysterious organization to let them know that Jason is on his way. That's when a couple of military men find Rich and Violet and bring them to Kevin. Kevin has his evil, villainous monologue kind of moment where he's like, yeah, we're taking Jason away, we're going to experiment on him and stuff. We're not really going to tell you anything more than that because you don't deserve to know. And Violet's like, well, can you at least fix his arm because he's dying? And Kevin's like, that's not going to matter because you won't be around that long. And as he says this, the chains around Jason start snapping. They've started losing control of him. I guess because the ice is beginning to slowly thaw. Violet uses this distraction as an opportunity to run straight into Kevin, knocking him over. She then grabs Kevin's knife, bites off his ear like a badass, and uses the knife to break the restraints keeping her hands together. Rich tells Violet to get out, and as he does, he gets shot by an army man. Violet thinks that Rich is dead at this point because he's just been gunned down. Like, no, not Rich. She grabs Kevin's shotgun. She kicks Kevin in the face. Your little plan is over, Kevin, or whoever the hell you really are. You made a mistake when you picked me up. I'm easily pissed off. She shoots the gun at the helicopter that Jason is attached to, causing the helicopter to explode. And then she goes over to Rich to ask if he's okay, and he answers with, was Sandman the best comic ever published? Was not expecting that kind of reference to be in this. And then I think we get the coolest shot of Jason ever conceived, which is him emerging from the flames of the destroyed helicopter, holding a helicopter blade while on fire. And he just swings that helicopter blade right through a bunch of military men. And then he sees Violet and Rich and heads after them. So Violet and Rich run away. They find the truck that had the liquid nitrogen in it, and it still does. They hold the driver at gunpoint, and he drives away with them, and they force the guy to tell them everything, where he reveals to them that they've taken Jason in order to experiment on him and see how he ticks and all that kind of stuff, because they want to be billionaires and they think they can make a lot of money from it. And Violet's like, alright, that's enough, get out of here, and she kicks the guy out of the truck. Jason catches up to the truck and jumps on top of it. They hear him on top of the truck, and they're like, oh, what the hell was that? Machete goes straight through the ceiling of the truck, so they're like, oh god, we gotta get him off of here, let's go! The truck crashes straight through the military camp, causing the tires to explode, which send the truck flying into the woods. Violet and Rich wake up in the wreckage. They see Jason reaching for them. Like, no freaking way. So they climb out of the truck wreckage, run away from it as it starts falling apart. Jason comes out of the wreckage. He gets shot by the military. And that's when Violet comes up with a plan. She tells Rich to run away because she's going to shoot the truck that has all the liquid nitrogen in it. She shoots the truck, which causes the nitrogen to explode, freezing everyone with it close to its vicinity. So it freezes all of the military men, and it freezes Jason as well. But Violet and Rich are far enough away where it doesn't freeze them. You can't kill him, you know that, right? Yeah, but I stopped him. That's gotta count for something. Let's get out of here. This isn't over. Yeah, the creeps like the organization, this is just a hiccup. Rich and Violet wander the highway and eventually find a car who picks them up, and the person driving the car turns out to be Kevin. He's like, where to? Wherever you're going. I'm going to hell, and I'm bringing you with me. We hear 2 gunshots from a distance. We then see Jason thawing out of the ice. A couple of hunters find him. They're hunting a deer, just like how the comic began. They find Jason. It's like, sure is an ugly one. What happened here? Aliens. Jason unthaws and slices the men to pieces and walks away back into the woods. It is then revealed that Kevin was the one who was shot in the head. Bitch. One hell of a night. So Violet and Rich drive away in Kevin's car, and we'll find out what happens to them in Friday the 13th Fearbook, which continues on from this story. I found most of the other 2 issues of this to be pretty mediocre, but this was a great finale to this miniseries. This issue was a riot from start to finish. Fearbook continues on from where Bloodbath left off, with Rich and Violet on the run in Kevin's car. Rich is bleeding out from all of the wounds that he's sustained, and he begs Violet, telling her that he doesn't want to go out alone. And Violet's like, you're gonna be fine, we're gonna get you help, you're gonna be okay. And Rich is like, oh, look out! And they see a tank right in front of them, just coming out of nowhere. So Violet and Rich smash straight into the tank. The military men all come out, they pull Violet out of the car, she's badly hurt. Like, he needs help. And they're like, they see Rich and they're like, what about that one? And it turns out Rich has succumbed to his wounds. Violet is taken to the organization's base where she meets a woman known as Mrs. Kane. This is not the same person as Mrs. Roosevelt that we saw in the previous book. Mrs. Roosevelt doesn't show up at all in this. Mrs. Kane kind of takes over her role. There's a bunch of business executive characters in this. A lot of them don't really matter, they're just business guys and nothing more than that. But they're all led by this guy named Mr. Trent. He's the guy that wants to use Jason Voorhees to get money and stuff. But he's also slowly grown a bit of a conscience, because now that Jason has been dealt with, a lot of people have died. So he's kind of like, maybe it's not worth it. Maybe going after Jason isn't worth it because of all the lives that are being lost, the amount of people that can sue us. And Jason's still out there somewhere, so he could come for us, he could cause more problems for us. And so they plan on using Violet as bait to lure Jason so that they can finish him off once and for all, because without Jason, all of their problems will be solved. Violet needs to go to the bathroom, so she's escorted there by a soldier who she refers to as Ace. They get chatting in the bathroom about Jason and the fact that she's being used as bait, and she hits on Ace and tries to get him to come on to her. Meanwhile, a couple of random soldiers with no names are starting to get to know each other. Jason just comes running through them, slicing them with his machete. Just tears them apart. It's like he senses that Violet is in the building, because he's got some kind of rule where it's like, no one can escape him. If you escape Jason, he will hunt you down and still kill you anyway. Ace succumbs to Violet and starts making out with her. Turns out Violet only did this so that she could distract him. She grabs some water and splashes it in his face and then kicks him in the nuts, grabs his gun, and holds him at gunpoint, telling him to tell her which way is out. Mrs. Kane is still trying to convince the rest of the boardroom to just drop this shit with Jason and move on to something else, because it's not gonna help them, it's just gonna make things worse for them. But they just won't listen to him. Mr. Trent has set his eyes on this goal, and they're not gonna give up until Jason is dead. Violet escapes from the bathroom and begins skulking around the grounds of the base until she's found by a couple of military men. But before they can shoot her, Jason comes from behind. She ducks out of the way. Jason slashes at her, and that's when the military men tell Jason to freeze, and they start shooting him with liquid nitrogen. But it doesn't work this time. He breaks out of it real quick, cuts one of the guy's heads off, cuts the other guy's hand off, and then slices him in half. Violet screams at Jason, "What do you want from me?" and starts shooting at him. "What did I do? You don't want me, you want everyone else in this place. Whatever pissed you off, they did it." She kind of gets through to Jason. He realizes, yeah, you're right, I do hate these guys. I think I'm gonna go kill them all now. The higher-ups watch from the boardroom as Jason slaughters everyone outside. They just see him slashing through people, slashing off their arms, their legs, their head. He punches through one guy's chest. So Violet runs into the entrance of the building. He's like, "Oh my god, oh my god." And as she comes in, all of the people from the boardroom are coming down the stairs. It's like, "Don't come down here. I'm serious. He's out there." And she's holding the gun, and they're like, "Whoa, point the gun somewhere else, please, lady." Then she realizes who they are and turns against them and is like, "Actually, you're responsible for what happened to me, Rich, and the others, so maybe I should kill you. But that's when Jason shows up, so all of the military start shooting at him. Violet quickly gets out of the way. Jason grabs one of them and uses him as a human shield, so they're all shooting at this guy that Jason is holding. The bullets start bouncing off of his bulletproof vest. I don't think that's how bulletproof vests work. Especially, they wouldn't have enough force to bounce off the bullet vest and fire straight into people and kill them like you're shooting them out of a gun. After they're all dead, he then breaks the guy's neck. He's done using him. The remaining characters all head to another room where they try to board the door off with a marble table. Violet holds Mrs. Kane at gunpoint. Mrs. Kane tells them that they need to get the gun from Violet. Like, you need to get the gun from this, go ahead. What were you gonna call me? And that's when Jason comes crashing through the roof. He grabs Mr. Stevens and Mr. Miles and smashes their heads together. Then this other guy, whose name I don't know, tries to stab Jason. I think it's Mr. Graham. He stabs Jason through the chest with a flag, and then Jason just punches his head, and his head explodes. At this point, Mrs. Kane is like, just give me the gun! She punches Jason in the face. Mr. Trent's just like, no, please! Jumps out a window. Presumably to his death, because we don't see him again after this, so it's assumed he just died. Mrs. Kane points the gun at Jason. You're dead, you hear me? You're dead, you fucking freak. And she shoots Jason in the back, and it doesn't do anything, and so Jason just plunges his machete through her chest, and then through her head. And so Violet makes it to one of the open windows. It's like, help! Help me, someone! Jason starts approaching her. It's like, oh god. Go. Girl. No! And Jason comes at her with the machete. She jumps out of the window, but Jason grabs her by the neck. He's like, help me! Someone, please! And then he pulls her in, and she screams. And that's the last time we see Violet. It's assumed that Jason pulled her in and killed her off panel. And that's the end. That is the end of Friday the 13th Fearbook. That is the end of the Bloodbath Trilogy. There are no more sequels to this. We never get to see what happened to Violet. We don't get to see what happened to Mr. Trent. It's assumed that they both died. But yeah, that's the end of the whole trilogy. Overall, I thought this trilogy was a lot of fun. It's very similar to the movies, where it's nothing crazy. Like, they're not masterpieces or anything. But if you want to read something, if you want to read a Friday the 13th book about Jason going around and killing people, this is exactly what you're looking for. And I will say, the final issue of the Bloodbath Trilogy is really good. I found it quite compelling. I really liked Violet and Rich's characters. And I found the Fearbook to be quite good as well, because it also avoids the usual tropes of Friday the 13th and goes for more of a corporate business story, where it's these business guys who only care about money and seeing how they can use Jason to make money, and then that turning against them, which is kind of interesting and is surprisingly something that you don't see often in those movies. I think it happened kind of in Jason X. It was the focus of the beginning of Jason X, but other than that, they haven't really made that a focus in any of the movies. The government being like, how can we use Jason Voorhees to our advantage? So that's it for this week, and next week we are going to be looking at the final two comics published by Avatar Comics, which are the Jason X Special, which serves as a sequel to the Jason X movie, and Jason versus Jason X, which is a crossover all about modern Jason facing Uber Jason from Jason X. So I'm really looking forward to both of those. I love Jason X. It's one of my favorite Friday the 13th movies. I just love how cheesy and over the top it is. And I'm looking forward to seeing how the two Jasons interact with each other. I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. And I hope to see you then. Have a good one.